Hello and welcome to my review of the Legiones Astartes Land Raider Proteus for Warhammer, the Horus Heresy from Games Workshop. Now, one of these Land Raider Proteuses will cost you £52.50, and it just so happens to be the same price as your Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine Land Raider. With the exception of the Land Raider Crusader and Redeemer, which are the same kit, they would cost you a whopping £65. Astronomical. It doesn't make this Land Raider seem expensive. It actually makes the older Land Raiders from over 20 years ago seem overpriced now. Price point of £52.50 isn't too bad. I mean, of course I would have preferred it at £40 or £45, something like that, but compared to the others, yeah, it's not really a huge amount. I can understand why Games Workshop set it at this price, and they were kind of restricted to do that, because if they set it at a higher price, you know, players would just use their old Land Raiders more and more. Again, nothing stopping you from doing that. You can still use the old Warhammer 40,000 Land Raiders if you've got them knocking about. At the end of the day, definitely would save you spending £52.50 if you wanted to use them instead of this one. However, what I will say is this kit is gorgeous. It's a lovely kit. It's great to put together. It uses a lot of the sprues from the Land Raider Spartan kit, which is the, you know, I say biggest plastic transport that they have at the moment, and it's the one that comes with included in the Army of Darkness boxed game. That one would cost you an extra £15 though at £67.50, but I think that is well worth the asking price, that Land Raider Spartan, because it's a big compared hundreds of parts. It's a proper project. If you're used to building Land Raiders, that's fine, but this is way more compared to those. I haven't even talked about the format of the review, so I'll do that now. I will be looking at this model up close personal. We'll be looking at all the detail and things, how easy it was to build. Then I will be going through some size comparisons, because the spare parts are, you know, boxed away by now. I'll show you the vehicle upgrade sprue though that you get with this, that you get with all of the Horus Heresy plastic vehicles so far. And then the size comparisons, of course, will be with other vehicles, including that Spartan and the older Land Raiders as well. Before we look at the detail of this tank, I just want to make a clarification of its name and the size and what it does. In your book, and you may have heard, and you know, the Land Raider on the front of that box looks different to the one in front of you, because there are two types of Land Raider Proteuses. There's this one, which is the carrier, and that one can, as the name suggests, can carry Space Marines. But then again, so can the Explorator. The difference being the front assault ramp. The Explorator, which is shown on the box, doesn't have a front assault ramp, but it does have two side entry points, whereas the carrier has this front assault ramp. So if you were trying to think of which 40k Land Raider to use, it would be the one with the assault ramp, and that you could use as the carrier. You couldn't really use the old Space Marine Land Raider as an Explorator because it has that front assault ramp. I mean, you could, but to classify it as an Explorator would be making use of that front assault ramp of the old one. I hope that hasn't confused any of you, but pretty much we're talking about the carrier in this review. I will be doing a separate review where I'll be reviewing the Explorator, and then I'll be going through the differences in both of these reviews as well. So let's start off with the miniature itself. Very decent. If you've had experience with the Land Raider Spartan already, you'll understand that it's a great kit. All they do is they just shorten the kind of overall length of this Land Raider. They reduce the twin link las cannon there by 2, so you've got 2 there instead of the 4. It's still a fantastic movable. You know, you can move it up and down, side to side, and you can detach it for transport. You can pretty much put any Predator weapons on there as well. Not that the rules allow it, but there is options there. I think they couldn't have done a better job. I really, you know, I give them praise where where it's due, and in this case and in this kit, I know I've got to drill out the barrels for the multi-melter, I just realised, but yeah, fantastic kit, good customisation. With the carrier, it comes with the twin link las cannons for the top turret, or you can have twin heavy flamers in there, or your standard twin heavy bolters. Reason why I've gone for the twin link las cannon is because I've got loads of 40k Land Raiders with twin linked heavy bolters, and I wanted a bit of a change. Aesthetic wise though, yeah, you're not going to be opening that top quite as far as you're expecting to if you opt for the twin linked las cannon. The heavy bolters are much shorter, but I just wanted an all anti-tank Land Raider carrier that, Land Raiders are a bit of a target anyway on the board if they've just got the twin link las cannons and that's about it, and they've got some juicy Terminators in or something. But this one definitely is, like, your opponent has to deal with this with 3 twin link las cannons, and it's got the options there of just just parking up and letting out the Terminators when it's ready. It can just stay at the back and be like a long range support tank, or even be near a unit of las cannons, heavy support squad, and just support them with its firepower. You could even choose not to put the Terminators in here and just go for a full mortise pattern Contemptor Dreadnought, and then you've got 5 twin link las cannons from the back of the board. And what's that going to cost you? About 400 points or so, maybe a bit more than 400. So pretty decent with its options. Nice kit. The tracks are a bit of a pain. That's not to put together, but the mold lines, because there's mold lines in between each one. The tracks are more time consuming than like a Rhino's tracks. I like the dual engine exhausts. In the Spartan you get 4. You've got a little smoke launcher. You've got different pintle mounted weapons. I think for the next one I might have one of the Space Marines peering out. You've got like the double-headed eagle, or you've got the Eye of Horus symbols, or you could just choose not to put any symbols on them at all. It's a shame that Forge World don't continue to make Land Raider resin doors anymore. I think this would have been a great opportunity to revive some of their resin doors that they had before for Land Raiders. Maybe not so much the front hatches, but definitely for these sides. They haven't re-released the resin side doors for the Rhino, but they are still available, and it would have been nice to have them for these Land Raiders, because I think these are the same size as the older 40k plastic kits. So that's the Land Raider Proteus carrier. Important to make that distinction. I just want to go through some size comparisons, and first of all we'll show you some comparisons with some vehicles. So I keep mentioning this Proteus throughout this video. This is the Proteus. It's exactly the same size in chassis, but the only difference is you're getting this very small, short dozer blade, actually smaller than a Rhino's dozer blade, which I'll show you that there, look, if you can kind of see that. It's shorter and stubbier than the Rhino's one. Speaking of Rhinos, we might as well just pop that size comparison in. And you don't get the front assault ramp. So that's the main difference. This Land Raider Proteus set, you can build either of these two. Again, you can opt for different weapons for this turret system, heavy bolters, twin link las cannons. Rules wise, the Proteus Explorator can only carry 8 models. So you can carry Terminators, but only 4, and you need 5 in a unit. So that's all out for Terminators. You'd really put like a small unit of Space Marines in there, a assault unit, something like that, and maybe a captain. It's just, and I say it's cheaper, it's not. It's more expensive than the actual carrier. So that's where they measure up. That's the main difference, is just that assault ramp there. Everything else is the same. Compared to this Spartan, of course, the Big Daddy, this is you pay an extra £15, but what you get for the extra £15, look at the size of that. It's like a third longer. It's got the 4 exhausts. This has quad exhaust vents here as well. There's more of a longer armor piece here. you've got your turret weapon right here, which does not get in the way of the assault ramp. Well, kind of, but it doesn't hit it. It's not very high in there with this ramp. I wish that they would have had that lower, and the area in there, more of a depth, and this whole area bigger as well, because it kind of looks like the entranceway is smaller than the assault ramp doors itself. This assault ramp door is massive, but then when you look in there, that height, I mean, I know I shouldn't really be doing this, but yeah, what this is an assault vehicle. Are they ducking? Are they ducking when they're running out of it? I mean, for an assault vehicle, I don't know, maybe it's designed like that, but I just feel like there's more of a height in the older Land Raiders and things. But apart from that, it's very similar. You've got these excellent quad las cannons that are detachable, and you can put them on the Proteus if you wished. So that's where they measure up next to the Spartan. I've already shown you a Rhino next to one of these Land Raiders. But if you're thinking of picking up like one of the big Proteus tanks, this is where it compares to one of these. It is, of course, it is probably similar height. Maybe the Proteus is a little bit taller, but nowhere near the length of one of these big battle tanks. And then if you wanted to go for like 40k inspired, like Land Raider and Predator, that's where it measures up next to the new Deimos pattern Predator. And finally, we've just got Sakaran, which is sort of in between the two, maybe. The Sakaran I always find out to be bigger than I think in my head. But yeah, that's where the Land Raider sort of measures up next to those big tanks. Similar to a Sakaran, really. So compared to an older Warhammer 40,000 Land Raider, I do in fact have a Grey Knights Land Raider, and there's where it is. This is probably a comparison you've been waiting for. The Mark 2B or whatever, the 40k Land Raider is longer. And it is slightly wider. So for the same price, if you wanted I say bigger Land Raider, it's not as tall, but it's certainly wider and longer, and I don't know, more sci-fi. I don't know what you'd say, more futurist. I don't know. Either way, the tracks are there, but they're protected. This is very much a kind of World War One looking tank with the tracks all the way out side of the chassis. But yeah, you've got options there. You can go for this kind of newer looking Land Raider, or you can go for one of these with the tracks. It really is up to you. They both do the same thing in game. What I will say is the kind of layered armoured plated armour for your troops, like the Cataphracti, like the iron armour, this tank, this Land Raider, definitely suits those armour patterns more than say your older 40k Land Raider, which probably suits more Mark 6 and Mark 4 patterns. But nothing stopping you from using one of these instead of the new Proteus carrier. The final comparisons I'd like to make is just with some Horus Heresy Space Marines, because you'd probably put these in it as well as the Terminators. So here's a Cataphracti, here's a Tartarus. So yeah, very, very small kind of assault ramp. I mean, the other Land Raider that I just showed you, you could probably see like 2 Space Marines walking out side by side. This one, no chance. It's just going to be single file, 1 Space Marine at a time, or 1 Terminator at a time, maybe. But that just gives you an idea of sort of sizes. I think the Mark IIIs go well with this Land Raider, definitely more than the Mark VIs. But there you go. That just gives you an idea of where it measures up next to sort of some infantry. And the final size comparisons I always like to make just with some 40k miniatures. So I have a normal Space Marine, Sly Marbo and a Primaris. Of course, Primaris, bit of an odd one out because you can't really use Primaris in Land Raiders. Land Raiders can't carry them, which is a bit of a shame, and hope they retcon that at some point in the future. But of course, Space Marines you can, and that's where this Proteus measures up. It's quite a compact Land Raider, really, and a nice homage to the kind of original Land Raiders that we used to see way before we got those Mark IIBs. So there's just one more thing for me to do, and that is to go through all of the rules for the Land Raider Proteus carrier. You'll find the rules in the heavy support section of your army book, which of course is very contested, with everything from the Spartan to the Kratos to the Scorpius, the Vindicators, all of the Sicarans and the Predators. Of course, it's the most hotly contested section in the book, as well as your heavy support squad. But the one thing I will say is for your Terminators, you can opt to pick one of these, and then it becomes a transport option as opposed to heavy support. The Legion Land Raider Proteus Carrier Squadron, it's a points cost of 220, and its stat line is as follows. Its movement speed is 12 inches, ballistic skill 4, front, side and rear armour is all 14, 5 hull points and a transport capacity of 12. It's the same stat line as the Explorator, except for the transport capacity in which it has 12 instead of the Explorator's 8. And the Spartan has a transport capacity of 26, so more than double transport capacity. But then you are paying an extra 130 points for that privilege. The war gear is 2 sponson-mounted Gravis las cannons, hull-mounted twin-linked heavy bolter, smoke launchers, special rules, Legiones Astartes, power of the machine spirit, assault vehicle. It has 1 access point on each side of the hull and 1 at the front. A Land Raider Proteus carrier squadron may take up to 2 additional Land Raider Proteus carriers at 205 points each, so you're getting a little bit of a discount if you get more than 1. It's a viable option to have 3 as 1 heavy support choice. Yes, it'll cost you 660 points, but you could probably kit them all out with twin-link las cannons, and then you've got 9 twin-link las cannons. Pretty decent. You may exchange its hull front-mounted twin-linked heavy bolter for one of the following: a twin-linked heavy flamer for free, or twin-linked las cannon for 15 points, which I've done. You may also take the following: pintle-mounted twin-linked bolter, 5 points, a combi weapon for 10, heavy bolter for 10, heavy flamer for 5, multi-melter for 20, havoc launcher for 15. And you may also take 1 hull-mounted hunter killer missile for 5 and searchlights for 5. How does it compare to the Explorator? Well, the Explorator already costs more points, even with that twin-link las cannon upgrade that I've put on mine. The Explorator, you're getting less transport capacity, so you're only carrying 8, so Terminators are ruled out. But the one thing that the Explorator does have is it has a special rule Scout, and it has the ability to have the Vox Disruptor array on it, as well as an Explorator Augury Web. So they might be worth the extra points as opposed to the transport capacity. Why would you pick it over the Spartan? I hear a couple of you say. Well, the Spartan is 350 points without the hull-mounted twin-link las cannon. So that's a good chunk of points extra that is halfway towards another unit, or definitely halfway towards another Contemptor. Both of them can be used as a transport option for the vanilla Terminators, and the Spartan does have 1 extra hull point. It really depends whether you're running 5 Terminators or 10, and whether you can justify the extra twin-link las cannons, because they both are going to give your Terminators maximum protection. Typically, if I'm running 5 normal vanilla Terminators with lightning claws or just chain fists or power fists, then I would pick one of these carriers. If I was running 5 like special unique Terminators for like Dark Angels or Emperor's Children, then I'd go for a Spartan. Not really for the added protection, but the extra hull point is nice. but so that I could put a character or a couple of other things in there as well with them. But what do you guys think of the Legion Land Raider Proteus carrier? Please do put your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. As always, thank you ever so much for joining me today. Thank you for watching. The Emperor protects.